ये माइक है या रिकॉर्डर? माइक फंक्शनल है? Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Topic for Hindi or English? English, both. All right. So we uh, would be discussing citizenship. Let's start with what do you understand by that? What, according to you, citizenship is? What does it mean to be a citizen? नागरिकता का, किसी देश का नागरिक होना, उस स्टेट को हम सिटीजनशिप बोलते हैं. What kind of citizenship do you have? आपकी क्या नागरिकता है? Are you have a, we in India have a concept of single citizenship. Okay. Now, what is the importance of this? Why this had been, as you might be knowing, that this had been provided for by the Constitution of India. संविधान में भी इसके लिए प्रावधान है. And apart from that, there is a Citizenship Act. Okay. Now that act has been would be governed by the principle of the Constitution itself, right? However, the Constitution is providing the basic fundamentals of citizenship. That is to say, at the commencement of the Constitution, यानी संविधान की शुरुआत पर citizenship कैसे determine होगी. This had been included in the Constitution. Rest जो issues हैं that were left for the legislature, जो कि विधायिका होगी आगे जब ये संविधान हुआ, विधायिका अपने कानून बनाएगी, उसके हिसाब से डिटर्मिनेशन होगा, right? That is one thing. Now, this is clear at the commencement of the Constitution. This was an important thing to be determined. Reason क्या था कि because in the British, under the British rule, we were what? We were subjects. We were not citizens, right? Subjects of whom? Of the British Empire, right? Right, Britishers. Now, when the Constitution came, which is saying we the people of India, it was being drafted, and it has to speak about whom? हम भारत के लोग. So the question was who these people are. ये कौन होंगे, right? Now, this is about changing the status of the people who would be eligible for it. यानी कि subjects को अब citizens बनाना है. Till that point, we were governed by what? यहाँ के जो लोग थे वो किससे govern हो रहे थे? The British laws, British nationality laws, right? They were under the crown. They were the subjects of the crown. The members of those who were in the princely states were British protected citizens, right? They were not citizens of India. So, in order to make it meaningful, we the people, which is there in the preamble, the Constitution starts with it. So, this is the first thing the Constitution is speaking of, hum, right? So, it needed to be determined at the first place. So, for that matter, committees were constituted, and initially this question as to who the citizen would be at the commencement of the constitution, this was referred to the subcommittee on fundamental rights. So there are several parts in constitution. Constitution के कई parts हैं, ठीक है? उसमें एक part है fundamental rights से संबंधित, मौलिक अधिकार जो है. पहले सिटीजनशिप जो थी का इशू है वह फंडामेंटल राइट के साथ रीड किया जा रहा है, यानी कि फंडामेंटल राइट्स जो ड्राफ्ट हो रहे हैं उसी में एक इशू ये भी था कि सिटीजनशिप क्या है, किसकी है, कौन एलिजिबल है. ओके, दैट आल्सो नीडेड टू बी डिटरमिन्ड. Later, I mean, when initially what happened was there were two drafts. दो ड्राफ्ट दिए गए, BN Rao draft and another was the draft citizenship of KM Munshi. These two members of the Constituent Assembly submitted their respective drafts over citizenship. Amongst them, the draft of BN Rao was accepted. Now, what he was saying was providing for the citizenship of India, that is one citizen. Okay. Later on, when it became clear कि partition होगा ही, right? Then it was deemed necessary कि इस partition के बाद, क्योंकि partition का consequence क्या था? What would have happened? What happened in partition? People were moving from one geographical area to another. So migration was happening. Either people were coming to this side or people were going to what now is being called to be Pakistan, right? तो उन migrants का क्या status है ये अलग से determine करना अब जरूरी हो गया, right? This announcement came in 1947 of the partition. So therefore, it was recommended that now, apart from the question of considering who the citizen would be at the commencement, we also had to determine the status of people who are migrants, right? Who are coming from Pakistan to India. Who amongst them can be a citizen, right? So this is one. Later point of time, this was removed from fundamental right portion, and instead a separate separate part had been constituted. So now we had articles about citizenship under part 2 of the constitution. Okay, part 2 इसकी बात कर रहा है article 5 onwards, not part 3 which is about fundamental rights. So उससे निकालकर यहाँ पर, and because there were multiple issues and only one article was not sufficient, किसी एक आर्टिकल से सारे इश्यूज को सेटल नहीं किया जा सकता क्योंकि कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी हो गई है, किस वजह से, पार्टीशन की वजह से. तो राजेंद्र प्रसाद के रिकमेंडेशन पे इट वाज डिसाइडेड दैट it would be divided into 6 articles. So therefore we have 5 to 11 which deals with this. Now we will discuss today the article 5. The heading of article 5 is citizenship at the commencement of the constitution. Now citizen has not been defined, citizenship has not been defined. Okay, what constitution is providing for is how the citizenship would be determined at the point of the commencement of the constitution. So there are many things in this which needs to be understood. So it is saying that every person, so the first thing would be who would be a person, person kaun hoga, right? Who is domicile in the territory of India. So there is another thing. What is domicile? And then territory of India, and at what time? At the commencement of Constitution. So this is there in the first part of Article 5. Article 5 की शुरुआत इससे हो रही है कि every person who was domiciled in the territory of India at the commencement of the Constitution shall be, then on, under what conditions he can be. So first thing is that either he should be born in India. So one is born in territory of India, two is either of the parents were born in India, or C, he was an ordinarily resident in the territory of India for preceding 5 years from the date of commencement of Constitution. Okay. So here we are looking at, first of all, let us discuss what a person is. Who is a person? Upon whom citizenship would be conferred. Can a company be a person? Because it is governed by the law. कंपनीज गवर्न हो रही हैं कंपनीज एक्ट से, पार्टनरशिप्स गवर्न हो रही होंगी पार्टनरशिप एक्ट से, कॉर्पोरेटिव सोसाइटीज गवर्न हो रही हैं एक एक्ट से, इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं गवर्नमेंटल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, वो एक डिफरेंट एक्ट से कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड हैं जो कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंदर बना होगा. तो क्या वो ऐसी बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट, a body of individuals, association of individuals और a company, निगम, क्या ये सब पर्सन होंगे? बिकॉज लीगली दे आर कंसिडर्ड टू बी पर्सन, artificial persons. So legally they are, right? They had rights, they had duties. Cases can be brought in their name. आपने सुने होंगे ना केस, इंडियन ऑयल वर्सेस. So they can also be presented before the court as a legal party. But are they persons? No. Persons here implies a natural person. यानी कि he should be a human. These corporations' identities are legal persons. They are legal entities. They are not naturally existing. ठीक है? So person is a natural person. Okay? Now, secondly, does it also include certain class of people, say for example, natural persons, say prisoners? क्या जो जेल में हैं, जिसके पास सारे अधिकार नहीं है, right? He doesn't enjoys liberty. Personal liberty of that person has been curtailed because he is in the prison. So whether that prisoner who does not have all those liberties and rights, can that be also regarded as a person? क्या वह भी person है? Yes. Why? Because the fundamental requirement is being a naturally a human. Human है तो है, right? He also have a right to life, and his right to liberty has been curtailed according to law. Article 21 में, which says that personal liberty is subject to operation of law. He had committed a crime, then a law came into picture, therefore he had been incarcerated. ठीक है? So a prisoner is also considered to be a person. Likewise, a member of the armed forces. There is a special provision in the Constitution with regard to armed forces. Anyone knows of it? That is with regard to members of armed forces. A member of army, navy, intelligence services, right? For those people, there are special provisions which are there in Article 33, right? even though Article 33 is applicable on them, they still are considered to be a person for the purpose of Article 5. यानी कि कोई भी जीवित व्यक्ति, और ये मैटर नहीं करता कि क्या वो प्रिजनर था या फिर वह मेंबर ऑफ आर्म फोर्स का है, राइट, he would be considered to be a person for the purposes of Article 5. अभी हम बात करें persons की. We are not moved into the concept of citizen, right? Now he is a person, that means they are entitled for citizenship. But when मैरिली सिर्फ इस वजह से कि क्योंकि वह एक जीवित व्यक्ति है, वह सिटीजन ना ही हो जाएगा आर्टिकल 5 के अंतर्गत. He had to satisfy certain requirements. One of them is that he must be a domicile in the territory of India. So this is, ये requirement जो है ये basic condition है. This is a fundamental condition. In absence of this, right, one cannot be entitled to a citizenship under this article. He necessarily have to be domicile in India. Okay. Now, plus, first it is to be shown that he is a domicile. Then further it has to be shown that his case either falls in this category, or this category. Right? So you would say what? आप कहते क्या हैं कि वह व्यक्ति जो domicile है in the territory of India at the commencement and he was born in the territory of India, he shall be a citizen. Or you can say that he was a person who was domicile and either of the parents were born in the territory of India. Or either you say that he was a domicile or he has been an ordinarily resident in the territory of India for preceding 5 years at the commencement of the Constitution. So this is basic. What is absolutely essential is that person should be a, जो बिल्कुल जरूरी है, पहली चीज, यानी कि मान लीजिए कोर्ट में सवाल उठता है या कोई आदमी कंटेस्ट कर रहा है कि ही इज अ सिटीजन, then the first thing what he needs to prove is that he was a domicile, right? रेसिडेंट एक अलग चीज है, डोमिसाइल एक अलग चीज है. अभी डिस्कस. रेसिडेंट होना एक अलग चीज है और डोमिसाइल होना एक अलग चीज है. हर रेसिडेंट डोमिसाइल नहीं माना जाएगा. एवरी रेसिडेंट in territory of India does not mean that he also has a domicile of India. I will explain as to why and what needs to be looked into. So one fundamental thing is being a domicile. Now what does domicile means? Domicile की कोई strict definition दे पाना मुश्किल है. In private international law, it deals with such concepts. There is no one definition of this. So how it has been explained is by way of illustrations, or you can say conditions. So the one thing that is necessary for being a domicile is that he must be a resident. This is one thing that is required. And the second thing that is required is the intention of that person. So there is a factum and there is an animus, right? Both the things. यानी कि वह रेसिडेंट भी है, right? That is he resides. Plus उसका आशय भी है. He has an intention of residing here permanently. ठीक, दोनों चीजें. Resident without an intention would make him a ordinary resident. That would not make him a domicile, right? So intention on the part of that person is necessary. All right. Uh, Now resident का भी जो इसमें बात है, that has to have a certain character. कैसा रेसिडेंट? वह व्यक्ति जो कुछ समय के लिए रहता है फिर चला जाता है, राइट? या जिसका एक परमानेंट मकान है. आ रहा हूं ना मैं. आप पहले ये समझ लो, आप ये समझिए कि डोमिसाइल के लिए क्या जरूरी है. डोमिसाइल के लिए दो चीजें चाहिए, रेसिडेंट होना और उसका इंटेंशन होना. इंटेंशन होती है आशय, ठीक है? क्या वह यहां इस इंटेंशन के साथ रिसाइड करता है कि वह यहां परमानेंटली रहेगा. एक व्यक्ति आता है सिर्फ एक बिजनेस ट्रांजैक्शन के लिए, राइट? वो रिसाइड तो कर रहा है लेकिन उसकी इंटेंशन नहीं है यहां रहने की हमेशा के लिए, तो वो डोमिसाइल नहीं हुआ. क्यों? क्या मिसिंग है? द सेकेंड रिक्वायरमेंट, इंटेंशन ऑफ दैट पर्सन टू रिसाइड परमानेंटली. ठीक है, ये फर्क है. अब रेसिडेंट किस कैरेक्टर का हो? क्या वह ऐसा रेसिडेंट कि जो फ्लीटिंग हो, टेम्परेरी हो, या ऐसा रेसिडेंट जो मीनिंगफुल हो इन द सेंस कि परमानेंट किस्म का हो? For being a domicile, what is required is a resident of second kind. उसका मतलब यह नहीं कि वह हमेशा ही उसी जगह पर मौजूद रहना चाहिए. He might be going here, there, ये इधर उधर, right? For doing his work, but he is residing there as a fact. Okay? And not just a kind of residence which was a temporary fleeting kind of, यानी कि जिसको कहा जाए permanent kind, not temporary. Permanent का मतलब यह नहीं कि absolutely he had to be there at all point of times, right? But fleeting नहीं होना चाहिए, आने जाने वाला, या कुछ समय के लिए रुक के फिर कहीं चले रहें. कोई परमानेंसी नहीं है उसके रेसिडेंस में, वह नहीं मानी जाएगी. क्या माना जाएगा? परमानेंट. सेकेंड इज इंटेंशन. आशय क्या है? इंटेंशन शुड बी टू बी अ परमानेंट रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया. इफ आई आस्क यू क्वेश्चन, इंटेंशन कैसे डिटरमिन करते हैं? हाउ डू यू डिटरमिन इंटेंशन? किसी व्यक्ति ने कोई कार्य किया तो उसकी इंटेंशन क्या थी करनी? हाउ डू यू डिटरमिन इंटेंशन ऑफ अ पर्सन? मैं उदाहरण के तौर पे आपसे पूछता हूं, दो दिस इज अ बिट अनरिलेटेड एग्जाम्पल, लेकिन इंटेंशन का मतलब आपको समझ में आएगा इससे. एक व्यक्ति चोरी कर रहा है क्योंकि उसका बच्चा भूखा है, उसको खिलाने के लिए चोरी करी उसने. इसमें इंटेंशन क्या थी? उस व्यक्ति फीड हिज चाइल्ड. ओके, एवरीवन एग्रीज विद दैट. एक्चुअली लॉ में उसको कहा जाएगा वह उसका मोटिव था, राइट? हिज मोटिव वाज टू फीड. मोटिव और इंटेंशन अलग अलग चीजें होती. इंटेंशन उसका था चोरी करने का. तो जब आपको ये देखना हो कि क्या इंटेंशन है और क्या मोटिव है, तो मोटिव में बेसिकली आप पूछते हैं क्यों किया किसी व्यक्ति ने वो एक्ट, राइट? इंटेंशन में आप पूछेंगे कैसे, फॉर फुलफिलमेंट ऑफ हिज मोटिव. यहां पर मोटिव को फुलफिल करने के लिए उसने क्या किया? चोरी, सो आप ये कहेंगे यहाँ पे हिज इंटेंशन वॉज टू कमिट थेफ्ट, हिज मोटिव वॉज टू फीड द चाइल्ड। ठीक है, तो क्योंकि स्टेट ऑफ माइंड है ये व्यक्ति का, इंटेंशन इज व्हाट स्टेट ऑफ माइंड ही हैज। सो ये डिटरमिन नहीं कर सकते किसी व्यक्ति, क्योंकि यू कैन नॉट लुक इनसाइड व्हाट इज गोइंग इन माइंड ऑफ समवन एल्स। सो हाउ डू यू डिटरमिन कि इसके माइंड में क्या था, ये देखें कि वह कर क्या रहा है, राइट? थ्रू हिज एक्शंस यू डिटरमिन व्हाट हिज इंटेंशन वाज। तो यहां पे आपने इंटेंशन कैसे डिटरमिन करी चोरी वाले मामले में, कि उसने एक्ट क्या किया, राइट? सो हियर देयरफॉर दैट इज हाउ यू डिटरमिन इंटेंशन। तो इसका कोई स्ट्रेट फास्ट, एम आई ऑडिबल? देयर इज नो। अब मैं आपसे चाहूंगा कि यू गिव मी सम एग्जांपल्स इन ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स, जैसे एक नॉर्मल व्यक्ति जो वहां का परमानेंट रेसिडेंट हो, वह जो बिजनेस करता है, ट्रांजैक्शंस करता है एक डेली लाइफ में, if he is doing that, right, those all acts would indicate what? His intention to be a permanent resident there, यानी कि वह रहता है किस आशय से, he resides there with what intention, okay? He resides there with the intention of permanently residing there. एग्जाम्पल के परमानेंटली नहीं रहने के इंटेंशन से है, उसके क्या हो सकता है? एजुकेशन के लिए आया हो, या किसी एक पर्टिकुलर बिजनेस ट्रांसपोर्ट पर्पस के लिए, वह रहने के लिए नहीं आया, राइट? दो देयर इज एन एक्ट, दिस पार्ट इज हिज एक्शन, बीइंग रिजाइडिंग, बीइंग फिजिकली प्रेजेंट का मतलब क्या है? द फिजिकल एक्ट ऑफ बीइंग प्रेजेंट समवेयर, राइट? Being at that place, this second requirement of the domicile is not satisfied. तो डोमिसाइल के लिए दोनों जरूरी है, रेसिडेंट विच इज नॉट टेम्पररी और फ्लीटिंग, विच इज ऑफ अ परमानेंट कैरेक्टर, प्लस इंटेंशन ऑफ द पर्सन टू permanently reside. Okay, now let me ask you a question. It is talking about a person who is born, okay, newly born child. How will you determine the intention of that child? We're speaking now, who is a domicile, who was born in India. He is incapable of an act from which his intention could be determined. But he is also there. So there is no question of looking into where his parents were. I mean, he himself. लेकिन क्या करेगा लॉ? लॉ तो दो चीजें कह रहा है ना, कि यू नीड बोथ थिंग्स, रेसिडेंट हो और इंटेंशन भी हो। अब एक बच्चे की, न्यूली बॉर्न चाइल्ड की इंटेंशन कैसे आप, क्योंकि एक्ट तो उसने कुछ किया नहीं ना ऐसा जो ये इंडिकेट कर सके कि ही इंटेंड्स, समवन वुड बी स्पीकिंग ऑन हिज बिहाफ ना, कोई इसके बिहाफ पे बोलेगा कि नहीं ये यहीं पर रहेगा, वो खुद तो नहीं डिटरमिन कर रहा है। तो उस केस में क्या होगा, कैसे? क्योंकि डोमिसाइल एक एसेंशियल कंडीशन है, बिना डोमिसाइल के बॉर्न हो तो सिटीजन नहीं होगा। हाँ, वो दीज आर सेपरेट सिचुएशंस, ठीक है? इसमें द प्रिंसिपल इज, जो लॉ का प्रिंसिपल है वह यह है कि नो वन कैन बी विदाउट अ डोमिसाइल, एवरी पर्सन हैज वन और अनदर डोमिसाइल, even a newly born child. Herein, an assumption comes into picture. This is a legal assumption. Legal assumption wherein because of the principle that no person can be without a domicile. So in that case, we attach a domicile to those people. This is domicile by origin, right? So the first domicile every person would be having is because of the fact of origin in a particular territory. Therefore, he is a domicile of that territory. आप इंडिया में आपका origin हुआ यानी कि you were born in the territory of India. So by this assumption of domicile of origin and due to the rule that no person can be without a domicile, right? You would have a domicile in India. Okay. The other cases are cases of domicile by choice. मैं born हुआ इंडिया में तो मेरा domicile of origin is India. Person A who was born in Australia, right? He wishes to have a citizenship of another country where domicile is a requirement. Therefore, his domicile has to be changed. Now he is choosing of what place he would have a domicile of. That would be a domicile of choice. Okay? So basic is no one can be without a domicile, and there is a legal assumption that every person has a domicile by virtue of its origin. This is domicile by origin. Okay. Second is domicile by choice. Now for choice, whether or not he had became a domicile, the same thing needs to be looked. What his state of mind was, right? State of mind again is about what? Intention. Okay. So the person who is claiming a domicile therefore has to prove it, and he would prove it by demonstrating that he has been a resident, right, which was of a permanent character, and he had an intention of residing there. ठीक है? So this is one thing in domicile. Second is India के context में can there be two domiciles? Citizenship is one. All of you had told me this, that there is one single citizenship in India, which is you are a citizen of India. You are not a citizen of a particular state or a district, right? Can a person have two domiciles in India? Are you also a domicile of Uttar Pradesh? If you are, if you are applying for certain things, say you are seeking jobs, you're filing for job applications, right? And incidentally, you also have a reservation of that state. Okay. So then it's being said that you are a domicile of UP, therefore this reservation is available to you, which would be a state reservation. So does that mean that you had two domiciles, domiciles of UP as well as domicile of India? Okay. The thing here is that previously in DP Joshi case, the view was that with respect to certain laws, कुछ कानूनों के अंतर्गत एक व्यक्ति के दो डोमिसाइल भी हो सकते हैं, राइट? एग्जाम्पल जैसे मैंने दिया, बट लेटर ऑन दिस व्यू वाज डिस्कार्डेड. सुप्रीम कोर्ट की इस व्यू को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लेटर ओवररूल कर दिया. सो इट्स अ बैड लॉ. डीपी जोशी इज अ बैड लॉ नाउ. It's not the law that one can have a two domicile, meaning thereby one can also have a state domicile and one can also have a federal unitary domicile, that is domicile of India. There is only one single domicile of India. तो फिर ये कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जो स्टेट की बात होती है, इसका क्या मतलब रह गया? This is used not in the strict legal sense. जब आप कह रहे हैं कि आप डोमिसाइल ऑफ उत्तर प्रदेश या कोर्ट या लॉ कहीं कहता है, तो वह एक कंटेक्स्ट में है, नॉट एग्जैक्टली इन द कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ what is there in Article 5, right? It is in the context of a popular meaning of the term. ये legal meaning attach नहीं कर रहे हो आप उससे, right? While you are saying that one is a domicile of Uttar Pradesh, you are not assigning it a legal meaning. You are using that in a popular sense of the term, meaning thereby that he lives in Uttar Pradesh, right? That does not mean that a person in India can have two domiciles. There is only one single domicile, which is being domicile of India. Okay. This is this is about what does it mean to be a domicile. Second is uh, territory of India. What does it includes? Territory of India has been provided in Article 1, right? Which would include the states, the union territories, okay, as well as those territories which had been annexed. Say Goa, Daman and Diu, they had been annexed from Portuguese. So the person domicile in them, in those territories, shall be a citizen of India if his case be a case of A, B or C. Clear है इतना part? Any doubt as to that? Now there is one more phrase जिसका मतलब we have to look into. What does it mean? Commencement of the Constitution. There are two things. There are two dates. What are those? Adaptation and commencement. What is the significance of 26th of November and what is the significance of adaptation, and it came into force in? So for the purpose of this, what shall be the date of commencement? When does it commences? Right? As per 393, the commencement of the constitution is Jan, right? But for the purpose of this article, the date of commencement is 26th November. Reason, there are some articles in the constitution which came into immediate effect as soon as the constitution was adopted, right? The provisions relating to citizenship were of that nature. The date of commencement would be November, right? So on that day, who was a domicile and also who was born in India, right? On that day, who was domicile and maybe he was born outside India, but either of the parents, either mother or father, were born here, or he was a domicile and has been permanently residing in the territory of India preceding 5 years from the date of commencement. This third case is contemplating what situation? किस सिचुएशन को कंटेम्पलेट कर रहा है? तीसरा वाला, who is a domicile and a permanent resident. This is contemplating a situation, वो है लोग जो ना यहाँ बॉर्न हुए, ठीक है, ना ही उनके पेरेंट्स यहाँ के हैं. Neither of these. They were born somewhere else, the parents from somewhere else, but they had been ordinarily residing here, right? Since minimum for the last 5 years, not less than that, right? But it is using a term ordinarily resident. Okay. Does that mean that it would also, it is asking for only one thing, one being a resident can be a citizen? Or does it also requires the intention? Intention भी चाहिए कि नहीं? But how come? At one place you are saying who is an ordinary resident, then how come you read intention into this? That addition कहाँ से आप कर रहे हो? किस basis पर? Please.
His intention must be कि उसका जो पर्पस है बेसिकली वो वहाँ रहने का होना चाहिए, तभी वो रेजिडेंट।
नहीं, ये दैट इज अंडरस्टैंडेबल, ये बात समझ में आ रही है कि उसका रहने का आशय होना चाहिए, लेकिन राइट, ये एक जरूर रिक्वायरमेंट है, लेकिन जो सी है वो यह कह रहा है कि हु इज एन ऑर्डिनरी रेसिडेंट, इतना ही कह रहा है ना, इंटेंशन तो नहीं कह रहा। या तो ये कहता कि हु इज एन ऑर्डिनरी रेसिडेंट हु रिसाइड्स विद एन इंटेंशन for preceding 5 years, right? That is not being said. And how do you introduce the element of intention in this? Intention भी हो, क्या सिर्फ रहने भर से वह सिटीजन हो सकता है? लिविंग एज
अदर पीपल्स, बिजनेस रनिंग कर रहा है, सेम थिंग स्टूडेंट का चिल्ड्रन है वो स्कूलिंग वहीं कर रहे हैं, हिज वाइफ मतलब नॉर्मल ट्रिप के लिए नहीं गए हैं वो लोग, बेसिकली जो हम लोग कर रहे हैं वही वो लोग करेंगे, तो ऑर्डिनरी।
ओके, तो ये वो है बात हो गई कि आप एग्जाम्पल दे रहे हो कि कैसे इंटेंशन पता चलेगा। मैं जो पूछ रहा हूँ वो सवाल अलग है। मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कि क्या सिर्फ रेसिडेंट होना ही पर्याप्त है या इंटेंशन भी चाहिए? क्योंकि सी बात जो कर रहा है वह कह रहा है कि सिर्फ एक ही बात कर रहा है ना, ऑर्डिनरीली रेसिडेंट। देयर कैन बी टू काइंड ऑफ क्लॉजेस दैट वुड हैव बीन पॉसिबल। एक तो यह है कि ऑर्डिनरीली रेसिडेंट जो है, जो जैसा है। दूसरा यह हो सकता था कि ऑर्डिनरीली रेसिडेंट विद एन इंटेंशन। I mean, I am now adding this part. Ordinarily resident plus with an intention living here for the past 5 years. Right? ये पार्ट नहीं है। तो क्या इसका मतलब, मेरा सवाल है, क्या इसका मतलब यह है कि इंटेंशन की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है क्या? Yes. Because in the basic condition, पहली चीज आप क्या देख रहे हो? फंडामेंटल क्या है? डोमिसाइल। ऑलराइट, क्योंकि ये केस कौन से वाले हैं? दे आर नॉट केसेस ऑफ डोमिसाइल ऑफ ओरिजिन। मैंने बताया ना, सी इज टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हाट सिचुएशंस व्हेन दैट पर्सन वाज नॉट बोर्न हियर। अगर वो बॉर्न होता तो उसका केस कहां जाता है? इसमें, ए में, राइट, हु हैज बीन बॉर्न इन द टेरिटरी ऑफ इंडिया। ठीक है, वह नहीं है केस। अगर हो सकता है बॉर्न आउटसाइड हो लेकिन पेरेंट्स यहां के हों, वह भी नहीं है, क्योंकि अगर वह होता तो बी में चला जाता उसका केस। ये केस इन दोनों से अलग है, यानी कि ना तो वह ना पेरेंट्स। सो देयर इज नो डोमिसाइल ऑफ ओरिजिन, सो देयर वुड बी अ डोमिसाइल ऑफ चॉइस देयरफॉर। ठीक है ना? बट डोमिसाइल की रिक्वायरमेंट दो है, रेसिडेंट होना प्लस इंटेंशन होना। So even when you are talking about C, because being a domicile is the fundamental basic requirement. Okay, he also need to have an animus menendi. इसको बोलते हैं स्टेट ऑफ माइंड। यू कैन से कि ये इंटेंशन का ही एक पार्ट है, एनिमस मैनेंड. वाइल द क्वेश्चन, जो क्वेश्चन आप पूछोगे यहाँ पे वह ये है कि वाइल ही वॉज रिजाइडिंग, ऑर्डिनरली रिजाइडिंग हेयर, व्हाट हिज स्टेट ऑफ माइंड वाज. इंटेंशन जो वर्ड है इसके कई आयाम, कई तरीके से आप इसको बोलते हैं. व्हाट हिज नॉलेज वाज, व्हाट हिज रीजन टू बिलीव वर, ठीक है, ओके, व्हाट हिज स्टेट ऑफ माइंड वाज. So state of mind is actually a reference to the intention of the person. So for being so, in order to have a citizenship, what you need to look into is the kind of resident he was plus the state of mind he has. Both things. Now kind of resident again, kaisa? Ordinarily resident, and requirement of resident in being a domicile are more or less same. Being a resident for, not for a temporary period of time or not a fleeting residence, आने जाने वाला नहीं, एक स्थायी किस्म का, something permanent, right, not absolutely permanent, plus state of mind. Then again, how will you determine state of mind? क्या state of mind है, कैसे determine करेंगे? You would ask yourself the same question कि क्या वह करता है, what his work is, where does he works, what his business is, where his business is located, where his employment is located, right? Is the employment of a permanent character? Is his business established in some permanent form? Say उसकी दुकान है, right? वह घूमता फिरता चीजों को नहीं बेच रहा है कि कहीं से आया, बेचा, सामान अपने साथ लाया और चला गया. बिजनेस उसने किया, right? वह नहीं माना. So this is the two requirements again, even when you are speaking of C. He should be an ordinary resident, means he resides in some permanent form, okay, and his state of mind was also to reside there permanently rather than temporarily, right? There are now, he shall be a citizen of India. Now this article ends with this phrase. Now what is the significance of this? He shall be a citizen of India. Significance is that it is providing for a single citizenship. Okay. In India, we do not have a dual citizenship. Say for example, United States do have. You are a citizen of America as well as citizen of the particular state in which you are. But in India, we only have the concept of single citizenship. Now, if one asks that on what constitutional provision, in which constitutional provision it has been provided for, is Article 5, which is using this phrase, shall be a citizen of India. So there is a concept only of a single citizenship. This is what Article 5 is. Now, when a person becomes a citizen, what does it mean to be a citizen? Certain rights and voting rights and the government benefits. He also had fundamental duties. Okay. Citizenship is a particular kind of, or you can say a special status being conferred by the state upon a person, by virtue of which what happens is he obtains maximum set of rights as possible. Part थ्री के सारे राइट्स नॉन सिटीजन्स को अवेलेबल नहीं है. Okay, there are certain within the fundamental rights. There is a narrow category, right? So आप ऐसे समझो कि this is right. Consider right to be a bigger circle, okay, and then consider concentric circles, a smaller one, a smaller one. So if these are rights, within rights there would be a narrow category which are fundamental rights, and within this narrow category there would be the most fundamental of fundamental rights, right? Say for example, life, right to life. Okay, a non-citizen who is in India, yani he is a person but not a citizen, but because he is a person, he enjoys certain rights. Okay, he would have these only as far as part 3 is concerned as a matter of fundamental right. Okay, consequence क्या होता है कि जैसे मान लीजिए one does not, a person does not have that as a fundamental right, then he cannot pursue those remedies which had been provided under the constitution. जैसे writs हैं, writs can be invoked in order to give effect to a fundamental right. Say habeas corpus, bring the body, produce the body. Okay, this is a fundamental right to life. If a person disappears, then this writ can be invoked. So these are for the purpose of giving effect a fundamental right. So fundamental rights can therefore be enforced by a judicial process. That does not mean they are the sole kind of rights. There are other rights too. Say right to property. I'm just explaining you as to what the difference would be. I'm not going into the basics and details of fundamental rights as such. That would be covered by some other faculty. Fundamental rights may you can enforce them through provisions in the constitution itself, right? But there are other rights as well which are not fundamental rights. Say right to property. The right to property is a constitutional right. Previously, it was a fundamental right. 42nd Amendment say it was, removed from fundamental rights, and what remains now is property right as a constitutional right. So, with regard to that right, it's also a legal right. It's a constitutional right. But you cannot invoke those provisions which are exclusively provided for fundamental rights. So, likewise, a non-citizen would have only narrowest category of fundamental rights. He would also enjoy those rights, meaning thereby that he can also invoke that mechanism for enforcing those particular rights which are also available to him. But in all other cases, wherein expressly that right has not been provided to a non-citizen, he would have a legal right, not a fundamental right. Okay. So part 3, all the fundamental rights are available to citizens. Okay. But all of them are not available to non-citizens. Only certain categories would be available to a non-citizen. आप उसमें determine कैसे करोगे? The terminology जो उसमें use होगी ना, you can do that exercise yourself, and that way it will remain with you. ठीक है? Where the phrase every person has been used, that would mean it is available to citizens as well as, but where the word only citizen has been used, that would be available only to a citizen. So this is the consequence of being a citizen. You enjoy a wide variety of rights. You enjoy more rights. Second, someone was saying right to vote. Right to vote is only available to a.
Citizens.
There are certain government offices in which only an Indian citizen can be placed. Office of President, members of legislatures, members of judiciary, right? These are all, this is a necessary condition that one has to be a citizen of India. So this spatial status comes with spatial benefits for the citizens, which are not available to a non-citizen. A non-citizen cannot be a president there. All right. So that was the basic understanding of what citizenship would be. We can, we can understand this further on the basis of certain questions I would pose to you, certain like situations, and I would ask you, what do you think whether that person can be considered to be a citizen or not? A child who is illegitimate, right? An illegitimate child whose father is from a different country other than India and mother is an Indian. Okay, what the citizenship would of that child would be as per Article 5 at the commencement of the Constitution.
Citizen of India.
Citizen of India, how?
सर इसमें बी वाले ऑप्शन दिया गया था either of the parents
Hmm.
must be belong to the same country.
Right. They, either of the parents. So he would have the citizenship of his domicile of origin would be that of the parents. Right. Now both of them are born in India, parents, but the child is born outside. Then can that person who remains outside and who obtains a citizenship of another country, or by virtue of law, citizenship has been conferred on that person of that particular country, can he be a citizen of this country? Yes or no?
Yes, if the
Yes, sir.
country offers dual citizenship.
So do we offer dual citizenship?